now and getting closer with every passing hour. The latest update from us, our latest position estimate, now 229 miles from Lisbon. That's 50 miles of movement in the last hour. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined in this hour by our Spanish correspondent, Cesar.
Hello Nathan, good morning from here.
Who only speaks the language and doesn't live there.
Yeah. Yeah, practically it's me who does the Spanish updates when a storm is going to affect any country that, of course, speaks Spanish. So this is my work in this project, let's say that. But yeah, I'm very happy to be here with you and of course providing coverage of this historic storm, to be honest, because it's just hours away from land.
Well, if you were to extrapolate that number, 50 miles of movement, if it was to make a beeline for Lisbon and moved at 50 miles per hour, it would get there in just less than 5 hours.
Exactly, between 4 and 5 hours. So it is a very short time before Leslie makes landfall officially. Right now some rain bands are now affecting practically greater parts of Portugal and actually very specific places in Spain like Madrid, just an example. But this is just the beginning, because of course the winds will get more stronger. The wind field of tropical storm force winds is very extended, and well, this of course represents a very serious situation for the people that lives in those countries, because we don't see anything like that every day, to be honest.
No, that's an understatement and a half.
Exactly.
We don't see it every day. No, we don't see it at all. Hardly ever. Apart from one or two particular occasions.
The last one, well, it was a pretty weak one, was winds of 2005 that made a direct landfall in the Iberian Peninsula. But Leslie is becoming more, so it's coming more stronger and a lot bigger than Vince back in that day. But I just hope the people there are enough prepared for this system. I know that they haven't experienced a lot of this kind of storms, but instead of that, hope the preparations were taken seriously, and of course the people are ready for the imminent landfall of this historic cyclone, of course.
Latest radar imagery shows that the storm's influence is just off the coast, now entering the radar scope on the left hand side of the screen there. That's Leslie starting to come in. This is actually half an hour ago. Radar's a bit temperamental over there, but that is a fairly recent image of what the radar has been looking like, with the edge of the storm really starting to get close. And what we're talking about there, within about 300 kilometers, 200 kilometers of Lisbon.
That's approximately 120 miles of distance. So it's pretty close, and of course the hurricane itself is moving incredibly fast. So that means, of course, that the rain, first of all, will enter. Well, it's now over some places right now, but the structure of the storm is itself, or the tropical storm force winds will come just before the center of the storm actually makes landfall. I think the wind, because the wind field is so expansive, I mean, it's so the radius is very big, maybe the radius will make like, well, the tropical storm force winds will be felt in Portugal like between in 2 hours at least.
For hurricane status, though, it's on borrowed time right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 75 miles per hour, according to the last update of the NHC. So possibly it won't make landfall as a hurricane intensity storm, but still represents a lot of danger. It's a pretty strong storm. It's producing hurricane force wind gusts, so it's something that it should not be taken not serious. I mean, it's a big system, of course, as well. It's taking extratropical characteristics now, but still represents a lot of danger and possible damage could occur.
All right. Well, Leslie's not the only storm out there at the moment. The other one that's lingering a very long time, it feels like. We've been tracking it for days and it's barely moved. Cyclone Luban, which is still just off the coast of Oman. About, I'm not quite sure exactly how far away it is from Salalah anymore, but my guess maybe 150, 160 miles offshore. Tropical storm force winds almost reaching Salalah, but not quite. But rainfall amounts will be totting up over there as well. Could be up to 600 millimeters in some places, Cesar.
It's a pretty high amount of rain in such a very short period of time. And the season in the North Indian Ocean has been really interesting because we don't see a lot of storms very near to oh, I forgot the name of the place.
I mean, Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah, that's right. And the Arabian Peninsula. So of course that means
and expected to make landfall in Yemen in 2 days or so, less than that now.
That's right, of course, it's still weakening,
Tomorrow.
But it represents danger for the people in Yemen.
Well, it's strengthened a little bit,
well.
actually. Last overnight, or early the hours this morning, Cesar, it was right down to 45 miles per hour. Back up to 50 now, but it's struggling, isn't it? Sea surface temperatures are marginal. But wind shear is low, so if it does get a move on, it could re-intensify.
It has been a pretty strange situation because commonly Arabian Sea is always filled with a lot of wind shear because of the desert,
dry air,
of course. But the sea surface temperatures that are practically marginal. Well, it at least is still enough to for Luban to survive a little bit. Of course, it has been a pretty interesting storm. It represents, of course, some danger. I don't know if the rainfall will be helpful for those places that barely they have rain, but hopefully the storm doesn't kill people or doesn't make any damages. I mean, it has been pretty interesting and of course a difficult season for those specific regions because they have been affected by Cyclone Mekunu back in May, in the last week of May. So it's something that maybe they should take in consideration before Mekunu starts to speed up and make landfall by tomorrow.
Luban, not Mekunu.
Sorry, Luban.
Yep, okay, so I've just got some news on Leslie regarding its movements again. 20 miles in 15 minutes, Cesar. Now,
20 miles in 15 minutes.
We'll be watching very closely every 15-minute slot to see how far it moves. So that we can ascertain how long it's going to be till it makes landfall. But this is what Hurricane Leslie looks like. So it's now 209 miles away from Lisbon. So that number's
And
decreasing.
very fast. The last update of the NHC said that Leslie was moving east northeast at 61 kilometers per hour. So that's kinda well, it's not kinda. It's really fast. And taking the data that you just provided about that has moved 20 miles in just 15 minutes. That means that approximately Leslie it's moving
Well,
80 kilometers per hour.
I'm not suggesting it's going 80 miles an hour, but
no, of course
it's
not.
just gone a bit further than usual in those last few minutes.
It's moving really fast. I mean, of course, this will like change a lot. It's still too soon to say the exact movement of the storm, but whatever is the movement speed is it's really fast. The structure of the storm is practically over the coast of Portugal.
And it's hard to tell, but is it me or is it curving towards the north? I say it's hard to tell because the centre of the storm is getting more and more displaced to the south because the convection's being horribly sheared away to the north. So
yeah,
is it my imagination or is it curving north in those images, do you think?
Well, for me, I think Leslie is moving, well, at least the convection of the storm is moving more to the northeast instead of eastern northeast or even northeast. So maybe the amounts of rain and the clouds will take place over the northern parts of Portugal and Spain, but I don't know if the wind itself will be like the main reason that will affect those particular sectors.
Given that the wind field is up to 200 miles wide for tropical storm conditions, let me just get this information correct here. The latest that we had was the northeast quadrant was 140 nautical miles, so in that case, about an hour's time, you could be seeing tropical storm force winds in Portugal.
Exactly. I'm possibly in Spain as well, because of the extension of this wind field, of course, is pretty big. Don't know if hurricane force winds will actually be felt in Portugal once Leslie makes landfall there, but tropical storm force winds, of course, are pretty high. It's a powerful cyclone. I mean, and with that wind field extension, it's the meaning of how dangerous the system has been in the last few days after it has intensified quite unexpectedly, because Leslie has been a very erratic system and has been existing by
late
3
intensification
weeks.
wasn't unexpected, but holding that intensity has been a bit unexpected, hasn't it? And indeed, they were expecting the storm to curve towards the south. Well, the models really couldn't make their minds up, could they? They were talking about it curving around Madeira or before Madeira to the south, but then they were also flipping back to hitting Portugal or going to the UK or wherever it's going. So some of the models from 5 days ago that said it would hit Portugal have turned out to be right, but it just makes me wonder what will happen, whether the storm is going to continue to accelerate or whether it's going to continue curving towards the north. And could you imagine if it doesn't quite make landfall there and it veers north?
I will be really pissed, to be honest.
Oh dear.
No, I mean, it's because of course Leslie's it has been a very difficult storm to track lately, but changing the forecast very, very drastically. I
They did.
mean, after a supposedly curve to the south, maybe affecting directly the Canary Islands, to now making landfall in the northern part of Portugal, well, in the Iberian Peninsula,
Can you
and
imagine
then
what the error number will be at the end of the on the verification? They did a big blunder, but I don't know. You can't really blame them because that's what the models were saying, and then the
no,
models shifted back again.
yeah, and actually, in my update of yesterday,
Yeah,
the models were practically unagree with a lot. Well, the radius of the possibilities of the possible track that Leslie will take, it was pretty big. I mean, a lot of models were predicting a very sharp turn to the north. Some models said
yeah.
actually that Leslie he will making landfall even in Morocco. I mean,
And then straight after, the NHC updated their position, and you got very angry.
yeah. I mean, because after 1 hour I made the update, unexpectedly it's understandable, but they changed a lot to forecast track, and in a situation of what Leslie is putting the people there, I mean, because it's moving really fast and it's very intense, the people maybe is not well prepared enough. I'm not like blaming them because of course they are doing the best job, but
Well, I hope they
the
are
rate,
because, I mean, they do get extra tropical cyclones in the winter time and
yeah,
in the
that's
change of
right.
seasons.
But actually, my concern about the forecast of the NHC was the very little calm of the possibilities that Leslie will take. And talking about the track, despite that it's just a 1 or 2 day forecast, I mean the possibilities were so low because it's so erratic, it's so very difficult to predict. So making a very short cone is practically like making sure that this is like the track that Leslie will take when you were changing the forecast track by very badly, well, not badly, but it dramatically, let's say that, in just few hours, and the people has not a lot time to prepare when a storm is moving like between 40 to 60 kilometers per hour. So
Okay, if you've got any questions for us regarding either Hurricane Leslie or the other system that we've got, Cyclone Luban, you can send your messages in live. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We'll field any questions that you've got on either of the two storms. And there was one just then as well. Do you think it could still hit Gibraltar? No.
no,
And tropical storm force winds are virtually nil for Gibraltar now as well.
I don't really see that possible.
Now, rewind
to be
24 hours and the cone of uncertainty would have extended from northern Morocco right up to northern Spain, including the Gibraltar Strait. So it was in contention for a while. But no, it's not going to happen now.
That's right. In the last frames, you can see Leslie moving sharply more to the northeast instead of the east to northeast. But I think it was a bit too late forecasting that, because all the time it was predicted that Leslie will make a possible landfall in the Iberian Peninsula, or of course making that sharp turn to the south, affecting Madeira and the Canary Island and dissipating by wind shear mostly. But now seeing that, it's really concerning, and I'm really worried about it for the people in Portugal and Spain, because I don't know if they really have prepared enough for a storm like this. I mean, I don't remember.
Well, if anyone's
the last
watching
storm.
from there, let us know how people are preparing for this storm right now.
Well, for preparing for an imminent landfall of a tropical cyclone, there are some tips and recommendations. First of all, you should have like a lantern with batteries, of course, a radio with batteries as well. Food, you need a lot of food, but not like in bags or something like that. I mean, there you need tinned food that doesn't get raw in a very short period of time. Well, this is like just the basic things, of course, to prepare for a hurricane or a tropical cyclone, wherever is intensity. But it's very important to take these tips, because of course the principal damages that happen after an arrival of a tropical cyclone is the flooding, the storm surge, and then when the winds came up, the loss of any electricity or power. If there's a possibility to evacuate, then do it. Of course, bring your pets, of course. Disconnect any electronic devices or anything that requires electric connection, because it's very dangerous, and it can provoke like some fires, and of course we don't want that. So practically these are like the main tips to prepare for a tropical cyclone.
We're looking at radar from one of the stations near Porto. You can see again the band coming in on the western side. Latest image here is from 1 p.m. UTC. I'm under the impression that Portugal uses the same time as here in the UK, so it's 2:23 now, I think.
I think they use the same hour as you, Nathan.
So this is about 20 minutes old, and just to load up as well, this graphic here is the hourly accumulations in millimeters, and on the left hand side there the maximum is about let's see, is that just, hold on, I'm trying to figure out which is which. Probably about, okay, those numbers don't make sense. 1 millimeter? That seems pretty low.
Do you think so? I mean, it's moving really fast, but
1 millimeter is nothing.
Well, of course it's nothing, to be honest, yeah.
I don't know if I was reading that right, but that's apparently what it said. You know, we're expecting anywhere from about 25 to 75 millimeters widespread, and there could be isolated amounts up to about 150 millimeters in some areas. Mainly over the Spanish mountains, though, where those highest accumulations are likely to be.
Yeah, and actually that's something that I mentioned in my last Spanish update. I mentioned about the danger that some areas with mountains represent this, because of course the rain it gets accumulated, and it can provoke some landslides, you know, and a landslide is something that you really don't want to see in a storm like this.
There again, latest chances of tropical storm force winds. That was compiled a little bit earlier today. We're about to get another position update, Cesar.
Yeah, that's good.
And that will take me a little while.
Don't worry. But yeah, we are watching there that the tropical storm force winds in Lisbon in Portugal are more than 65% at least. So of course Lisbon is in a pretty serious situation.
Up to about 80% as well. So now the latest update, 206 miles from Lisbon. So in that last 15-minute spell, from 20 miles an hour down to 3. So this is why we don't do them over 15-minute spells.
Wow.
Because we can get massive changes, little and large.
This was a very massive change.
So it's actually moved more than 3 miles. It's just got 3 miles closer to Lisbon. It's actually moved a bit further north in the last 15 minutes, but this is just a tiny little window. We can't make any trends up until we get to about 3 to 6 hours. But it's moved 11 miles north in the last 15 minutes, which means in total in the last 30 minutes it has now moved 30 miles northeast.
Yeah, we are like witnessing the movement of Leslie right now, and I can say that it's not moving like the forecast has been predicting in the last 12 hours at least. It has been moving more to the north, which is not good, to be honest. I mean, at any direction is not good, but it's so late to now. Well, it could go away, but now now other countries will be affected. But
all right,
yeah,
it's just hold tight there. Someone else is coming into the fray, so we'll see if we can get hold of them. Hello, is that Tyler?
Yes, hi.
Good morning to
Welcome,
you.
Tyler.
Yeah, I got up and there was a dog on my lap, so...
There was a what?
Anyways, a dog.
Oh.
Yeah,
how random.
But yeah, personally, I was sort of hoping Leslie would turn southwest and continue over the Atlantic. It just would have had some comedic value. The never-ending storm. Like, oh.
Certainly. Well, it would have stayed harmless if that happened. What's your impression of it right now? It's still a hurricane just? Do you think it's going to hold on until landfall, or is it going to lose hurricane status and tropical status by the next update?
It's transitioning right now. It's very close to not being a hurricane.
I personally think that they'll make it post-tropical at the update at 4. 4 p.m. local time, that is. That would be what time? 11 a.m. on the east coast of the US. And there's quite a few warnings in effect as well. Cesar, do you have them with you?
Sorry, Nathan, can you repeat?
The warnings that are currently in effect.
Oh, well, not really.
Well, I know you read them out during your storm update earlier, and your pronunciation will probably be better than mine.
Well, yes, I mean, in my update, I really didn't have I haven't found an official warnings for Leslie, but I mentioned some areas that are in danger.
Well, I've just posted somewhere to go for you to have a look.
Perfect. Let me have a look at it, and of course see what is going on with that hurricane, of course. But let me tell you, Nathan, that the link is not working.
Why not? Try adding www dot before it, and maybe it will work.
Sorry, no, wait a minute. It's working. Just some stuff of my internet is just doing bad things as always. But well, there are wind advisories for practically the whole Portugal. Strong winds that are in effect for Aveiro, Lisboa, Setúbal, Coimbra, Leiria, and Santarém. This is in Portugal. Some high winds advisories are as well in effect, but not that intense as the last locations I just mentioned. The next location that has as well winds advisories are Braga, Castelo Branco, Guarda, Porto, Vila Real, Bragança, Viana do Castelo, and Viseu. Those are the main locations that could see some tropical storm conditions in the next hours. And of course they have wind advisories. This is in Portugal. And about Spain, we have some wind advisories.
Not many though, are there?
No, actually there are not many. Practically there are thunderstorm warnings and rain warnings in effect, to be honest. I'm going to start with the rain advisories first. I think it's the most important. First of all, we have Coruña, Asturias, Cantabria, Tarragona, Zamora, Barcelona, Girona, León, Ourense, and Ourense. These are the main places that are in rain and flooding warnings.
Now the one over in Barcelona, is that in relation to this storm or something else?
Well, Barcelona is far east of Spain, so it's kind of surprises me that it has flooding advisories. I don't know if it's about because the convection of the storm is displacing to those places, but well, the advisories are still there. And about the thunderstorm conditions, it is pretty dangerous and of course very important to take note for people there in Spain. You have advisories in Badajoz, Ceuta, Cádiz, Córdoba, Huelva, and Sevilla. Those are the places who have thunderstorm warnings right now in effect. And wind advisories, I mean high wind gusts or even tropical storm force winds are in effect for Guipúzcoa, Navarra, Álava, Lugo, and Ourense. Those are the main places who has wind advisories.
Wow. So the storm's effects being felt or will be being felt very soon. You can see those latest images. The cloudiness associated with the storm is literally on the coast now. Doesn't mean that conditions are going to get worse immediately, but it does mean that the rain is on the way north of that storm. So northern Portugal there looks like it will be getting probably a heavy frontal style of rain, really, because it sort of is becoming its own front, isn't it?
Yeah,
with a tropical storm attached to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's and right now the last frames, it doesn't look like that it's a tropical cyclone anymore. It actually it's taking a frontal shape, but it's a very, very intense frontal.
I mean, it's got nothing on the southern side.
No,
in those latest frames,
it's over.
And you can see a widening V shape appearing to the southwest of the storm, where there's clear weather. You know, just behind the center of the storm. It's just being completely whipped away by wind shear at this time, and it really only has a few hours left. But because the storm's moving so quickly as well, about 40 miles per hour, this could still be packing hurricane force winds when it moves through.
Yeah, absolutely, and because it's moving really fast and it's not I mean, in terms of wind speed, it's not weakening that fast, but of course the wind shear is taking over the center of the storm, is displacing the convection of the storm, which is of course pretty dangerous for the people there in Portugal and Spain, because those amounts of clouds and rain and thunderstorms will take place there, and this could be a pretty dangerous situation. That just like that's why I mentioned right now some specific places, because those are the main locations that could receive really serious conditions. Don't know if the center of the circulation will be like it will be like with the convection, but still the wind field of tropical storm force winds is pretty extensive. So this is just the beginning of a pretty serious storm for people in Portugal and many parts of Spain as well.
All right, well, let's move now onto Luban once more. There's the latest imagery of it right now. A lot of looks like a lot of convection to the south side all of a sudden. What's going on with that?
It's pretty interesting. I mean,
maybe it could be starting up round 2 of intensification.
Well, you mentioned earlier that the sea surface temperatures are marginal and there's practically no wind shear.
But it's warmer to the west and the storm is moving now.
Finally it's moving. No, but actually it looks kinda good. I mean, despite it has lost a lot of strength, but still it looks kinda good. So Kotra is being affected, of course, by the storm.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of rainfall over there now, I should think.
Very soon. And or very soon, or actually they are receiving high amounts of rain. Of course, they have very rough times when Mekunu was very near to the island. And of course, remembering too historic storms, Chapala and Meg, back in 2015, those cyclones affected very bad Socotra as well. So it has been really interesting how many storms in those recent years have affected those particular locations. Socotra, Yemen, I don't know. It's just like something that hasn't been happening in many decades.
We've got some more questions. Let's see if the viewers want to guide our discussion. What is the expected storm surge from Leslie? Says, could you help me a little bit? If you go back to that site and show and tell us under that those high wave warnings. What does it actually say?
Let me check it out. Well, I don't see really any okay, now I found it. Yeah, there are some advisories of storm surge in Lisboa.
Are they giving values on that?
Values, well, they're just in... Okay, they're in Lisboa we have 7 meters at least.
7 meters?
Yeah.
That can't be true.
Well, this is how the web page is saying, and with a maximum of
about
the
20
maximum of
feet.
13 or 14 meters.
Surely they're talking about the high seas rather than on land. That's a tsunami
Yeah,
size.
that would be a 23-foot storm surge at 7 meters.
It's
Which
really,
is ridiculous.
it's really.
That can't be true.
To be honest, I don't believe that as well. But you know, I'm just saying how that webpage I'm now consulting it says. But
You only
yeah,
hear those numbers if you're talking about maximum wave height when the storm's out at sea, and it gets much smaller when it goes towards land. Suffice to say, there will be a surge of sorts. Stay away from the coast.
Yeah. So yeah, stay away. I mean, the people there should be like away from the coast since ages, because it's now very late to leave. The storm is approaching so fast, and there's no time.
It'll be there by
actually.
nightfall. All right. Here's
Yeah.
another question. What do we think about Michael's strength?
It's a personal question or about Force 13 itself?
Well, Force 13 will be making an announcement about this tomorrow, hopefully.
That's
So,
good.
what are your opinions?
Well, I really had difficulties about my estimates of Michael. I think Michael actually was a Category 5 hurricane, but like like a very low end Category 5, not even like 165 or 160. I mean like 157.1.
157.1.
Why
Yeah.
the point one?
Why not?
Why not? Yes. Okay then. Well, hey, we're going to take a break now, guys, until the start of the next hour. So that's just over 15 minutes that we're going to take away from here. We're doing recordings as well, uploading our output, basically. So we're going to take a bit of a recess. Are you two going to be here at the start of the next hour?
I will.
10 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Oh, lovely.
In like, what, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's no, actually, probably not for any
That's bad.
period of time. But
Alright.
I will be on later.
Okay, well, thank you
Perfect.
for joining us. We'll be back again at the start of the next hour. We're just going to be away looking at some stuff in the meantime and whatever else. I'm sure we'll be in the chat to answer some more questions, if not on the air. But we'll be back again, 3 PM local time. Stay tuned for more.